Hi everyone. Today my presentation is about the early potential traces of algebra in Jābir Ibn Ḥayyān's writings. This presentation shed light on the possibility that Jābir Ibn Ḥayyān, famous alchemist, might have been the first intellectual in the Islamic world to practice algebra, long time before the foundations of this discipline were officially founded by Al-Khwārizmī. So, approximately speaking, Jabir lived in this time, while Al-Khwarizmi lived after his time in this era. So, this presentation is about a few years before the emergence of Al-Khwarizmi's algebra. Scholars who have studied intensely Jabir's writings, they ascertain that Jabir wrote highly sophisticated mathematical books, but unfortunately, those books were lost. What survived are a few um, titles or quotations or algebraic terms in Jabir's writing. So today I will try to talk about this. Before that, I just want to talk about Al-Khwarizmi. Al-Khwarizmi has many contributions in different scientific fields. And in his work, Al-Kitab al-Mukhtasar fi Hisab al-Jabr wal-Muqabala, the abbreviated book on calculation by completion and balancing, he put the foundations of algebra. So in this masterpiece, Al-Khwarizmi provided the detailed formulas regarding how to solve linear and quadratic equations by removing the negatives and using a process of balancing on both sides of the equation. Needless to say that some of the ideas used in this book have some ancient Indian, Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek roots. But Al-Khwarizmi's amazing achievement can be seen in combining all these ideas and presenting them in a very easy and accessible manner. This book is the oldest book in the Islamic world about algebra. But just because Al-Khwarizmi's book is the oldest available book about algebra doesn't necessarily mean that it was the first work on the subject. The word in the title itself, Al-Kitab al-Mukhtasar, abbreviated book, implies the possible existence of some older comprehensive algebraic book. Also, according to what Al-Khwarizmi mentioned in his introduction, it was the Caliph, as it's mentioned here, it was the Caliph who encouraged him to write simplified arithmetic book where people would have an easy access to using it in solving their daily problems, such as those related to inheritance, legacies, trade, measuring the lands, and the likes. And this also implies the existence of some older complex book about this issue. Furthermore, Al-Khwarizmi didn't even discuss the meaning of the two terms, Al-Jabr and Al-Muqabala, that lie in the title of his book, which is not typical to a Muslim scientist writing about a new field of science at the time. Hence, if Al-Khwarizmi's book about algebra was the first written book in Arabic, that would have been somehow indicated in the book. As Aydin Sayallah noticed, Al-Khwarizmi seems to have written this book without any claim of originality, knowing that the oldest Arabic use of the terms al-jabr and al-muqabala are found in Jabir's writings, even though in Jabir's relevant surviving books they had different meaning to al-Khwarizmi's. We know today the meaning of al-Khwarizmi's terms al-jabr and al-muqabala. Al-jabr means completion, reunion, or restoration of broken parts, and al-muqabala means balancing, because algebra is concerned about achieving balance. In fact, Jabir wrote several books about Mizan, balance, because he was obsessed with reestablishing the original state of balance, either within the physical, alphabetical, or indeed within the chemical substances. And this can somehow be compared to algebra's goal. Before I talk about some traces of algebra in Jabir's writing, I just want to show this couplet, which was written many years before, after the time of Jabir. Um, this critique shows that Jabir was attacked during his life and after his life and was accused of being a practitioner of pseudoscience. And so we can understand why some of his ideas were not given credit. And it also shows that it was Jabir, there's an idea that it was Jabir who fixed the branches of science. His name means the one who fixes. And he wrote in different fields and he wrote classification of science. So that's why Fuad Sizgin called him the Muslim Aristotle, because he wrote in different fields. In this sense, even the word algebra maybe it might have been derived from the name of Jābir. They are very, very close. However, in his History of Arabic Islamic Heritage, Sizgin repeatedly asserted that Jābir had a mastery in mathematics. For instance, in Jābir's Kitab al-Tajmi', book of gathering, he talked about the function of zero among numbers, and he stated that he had mentioned it earlier in his astronomical books where he wrote about the Indian numbers. Besides using many algebraic terms, particularly in his Kitab al-Tajmi', Jābir used a small circle as a symbol to the zero, whereas the Indians use a dot as a symbol to that number. As Sizgin remarked, Jābir often encouraged his readers to arm themselves with logic, arithmetic, and geometry. And based on Ibn Nadim, Jābir had made some important zich, meaning a book used for astronomical calculations. And he wrote commentaries about Ptolemy's and Euclid's works. And the implications found in Jābir's Kitab al-Sumum, Book of Poisons, and Kitab al-Sab'in, Book of 70, tell us that Jābir knew very sophisticated mathematical theories. Jābir also wrote a very long book regarding how to make an astrolabe, which contained 1,000 complex matters. But unfortunately, that book was also lost. Jābir's idea about the zero is significant. Jābir affirmed that everything in this world is made out of the four elements: fire, air, water, and soil. And the source of those four elements is heat, cold, wet, and dry. And the latter four qualities can be understood with reason, but they can never be seen with the eyes. Thus, those four qualities have no higher roots or source, just like the zero, which can never be seen, yet it has its function, its essential function within the numbers. Sizgin stated that Jābir created a shift in mathematics. He changed the mystical, secretive science of numbers into rather strict mathematics. Yet, finding references about the Indian numbers and zero in Jābir's writings pushed the famous scholar Paul Krauss to conclude that since these tools were not introduced to the Islamic world until the time of Al-Khwārizmī, that's to say the 9th century, that simply means that these books were written in a later period and were then attributed to Jābir. But this view was strongly challenged by Sizgin. According to him, Muslims knew about the Indian numbers and about the zero from an early time, long before they reached Al-Khwārizmī through India. Sizgin was in the opinion that Muslims could have received those ideas from the Persians, who have taken them earlier from the Indians, not to forget that the Caliph al-Mansur's astrologers were Persians. Thus, many Indians' books had arrived to the East through the Syriac translations. Accordingly, the Indian numbers were known in the Middle East as well as in the Near East from the middle of the 7th century AD. So Sizgin asserted that we are not required to take Al-Khwārizmī as the first one to introduce the Indian numbers. Rather, we should think about the possibility of achieving that through the old Persian astrologers who had a relationship with the Indians. Sizgin asserted that the algebraic term square was used by some early Muslim scholar when he talked about a person who drew the foundations of Kaaba. Also, Sizgin emphasized that the oldest name of a mathematical book we ever know in the Islamic civilization is Jābir's Ta'alim al-Handasa, Teachings of Geometry. So the previous slide, I talked speedily about some examples from algebraic traces in Jābir's lost books. But now I want to talk about his theory of balance of letters, because this theory survived, and it's somehow connected with the topic of meta-science, and it also shows the importance of numbers and balance in all Jābir's philosophical paradigm. So Arabic has 28 letters, and this number is perfect number as it was known from the time of Euclid, and even after the time of Jābir. Ikhwan Safa talked about the qualities of this number, of this perfect number. So this number gave opportunity to Jābir to use it perfectly at that time's famous scientific theory, which is the theory of the four elements and four qualities. So Jābir divided this number into four groups. So we have four groups of letters: each group has 7 letters. Again, number 4 and number 7 are important in the Quran and important in Islamic Sufism, and they are particularly important for Jābir. So we have 7 letters who are hot, and 7 are dry, and 7 are cold, and 7 are wet. And every letter has a specific numerical value, and this numerical value changes based on the rank of the letter in the word. So if it was in the end of the word, it become more increased, vice versa. And I also want to show this important verse, which was very important for philologists and alchemists, because it's talking about the origin of language. This language, according to this verse, language was given to Adam by God when Adam was in heaven. So it has original, divine origins rather than human-made origins. And since Jābir believed in the uniqueness of Arabic language, he believes that because it is a unique language and perfect language, that's why he said that the connection between the name and the object in the physical world should not have been made arbitrary. There should be a direct connection between the name and the things that exist in the physical world. For example, if we want to know about the nature of anything, let's say dhahab, which means gold. So we put every letter of the word dhahab into his system. And by the way, the system is complex with many charts and many numbers and letters. I didn't provide a photo of it because there is no time to discuss all the idea. But I just want to give some sense of his idea. So if we analyze his the word, for example, the letter of gold, we can understand how much the quality of gold, how much hot, how much dry, how much cold, how much wet within any mass of gold. This was the claim of Jābir. And all his theory of balance are taken from this magic square. As you know, this magic square were found in different civilizations, even before Islam. When the basic numbers are arranged in this pattern, every 3 numbers, when added up, will give the same value, 15. Whether vertically, horizontally, or like this, they always give the same value. And this is important for Jābir because when numbers are put like this, those numbers, the 5 highlighted numbers, equal 28, which is the number of Arabic alphabet. While these 4 numbers, they represent the heart or the essence of Jābir's theory. And also just to clarify how so, for example, letter Shin in Arabic, the quality of letter Shin is hot, and it is related to fire. And the value of letter Shin is 1 danaq when it comes in the first rank of the word. When the letter Shin comes into the second rank of the word, it will equal 3 danaqs. When it comes in the third rank of the word, it will make 5 danaqs. When it comes at the end of the word, it will make 8 danaqs. This proportion or ratio can be found in all Arabic letters, and not only in Arabic letters, in everything, this proportion. So when you hear about Jābir talking about number 17, he said number 17 are found in everywhere. He's talking about this proportion, which can be found in all the creation. I know this is not complete discussion about this complex ideas, but I just wanted to highlight this idea. I think I finished my time. I will conclude. So availability of some ancient algebraic element as well as Muslims' daily life demands had facilitated and encouraged Al-Khwārizmī to produce his book about algebra. But we can also think about other contributing factors like the many contributions of Jābir Ibn Ḥayyān, which were mostly or most relevant ones were lost. And we have also to remember that unlike Al-Khwārizmī, who worked in the famous prestigious institute, House of Wisdom, Jābir was poor and he worked underground and he was far away from that time's academia, so to speak. And as I tried to show, he was accused of being a practitioner of pseudoscience. So we can understand why some of his ideas were not given credit. And the whole idea of this presentation is about the importance of alchemy being like a fountainhead of the emergence of different branches of science at that time. And with this, I am done. Thank you for listening.